Hey, 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 this is Sarah Noel Black, and you are listening to Tiny Marketing. This is the Uncut Summer Series where you are getting the raw, unfiltered, unedited recordings from our interviews, webinars, and workshops. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ridiculousness. Hello, folks. You probably hear birds in the background right now and terrible audio because I'm on my AirPods. I am currently stuck at my remote cabin in a flood, but I'm not going to let you down. So I am posting one of your favorite episodes with Jenna Kimball, 3 Ways to Be a Better Networker. It quickly jumped to the top of the charts. So I thought you guys would probably like that again. Enjoy.
Yes. Hi, my name is Jenna Kimball. I am a recruiter at a marketing and advertising agency called Dentsu International. And I also help people learn how to interview and be their best selves and help them navigate this crazy job market.
Yeah, you kill it at that. We met at an American Marketing Association event. We were both speakers at it and we bonded instantly. And I don't know about you, but I'm not always like that. You're clearly good at networking because we just met for the first time that day and we were like,
It was so funny. My husband came because I was like, come to my thing, And then he's like, you and a girl, we're like really buddies. I'm like, I know. He's like, did you know her? I said, no, I just met her today. Yeah.
just a good vibe.
Crazy how that goes. I know.
So that's what we're digging into today. We're talking about how to network without being awkward. This is part of a series of podcast episodes on this topic because I hear this question a lot. Like, I feel uncomfortable networking. I'm worried that they think that I'm just trying to sell them. But you have some great tips to just like pull out of your toolbox to make it so much easier, but more importantly, how to maintain that relationship after the fact. Because, if you grab a card and then walk away and never talk to them again, it was kind of pointless, right?
Yeah. I think too, we can certainly get into that. I want to just flip the limited beliefs because I used to have this too. I used to be a really shy kid and I would think what you just said, oh, no one wants to hear from me. I'm not interesting. Nobody cares what I have to say. And I just want everyone who's listening to feel like, let's flip that. Like, what if people really thought what you had was interesting to say? What if people really wanted to talk to you? You have to go into a networking event, conversation, scenario with that mindset, or else, you're not going to really do your best. And it also shows such an ease when you can believe that about yourself. Just like, hey, I'm about to go into this event. I can't wait to meet people. I can't wait to learn about others. I'm sure people are going to have questions for me too. And it's going to be a really fun event. So I hope that people can just flip it.
I agree. I would have never pictured you as a shy kid. I was too. Like, constantly people like, you're blushing. I'm like, that's just because you're looking at me. Noticed I existed. I was so shy.
But also what a relief, when people come up to you at these networking events, sometimes you might feel awkward approaching a group or, jumping into a conversations that's already in the middle of.
Yeah.
But when you do that, people are so relieved because I think a lot of people are like that. They're like, oh gosh, what am I going to say when I get there? Oh no. Isn't it such a relief when someone takes you by the hand and is like, hey, I really want to know more about what you're doing or what you're looking for?
Yes.
So, yeah.
And right there is a good point in that you're asking questions about them. So you're kind of guiding the conversation and letting them tell their stories. So it feels less awkward for them because they're being asked to tell their story.
Yeah, and it's something that they know the most about, that everyone in that room, out of anyone, you know the most about your unique story. I'm not asking you to explain quantum physics to me. I'm just asking you to tell me about what you're doing that day. So I think it's these low risk questions. It puts people at ease.
Speaking of, when we went out to breakfast a couple weeks ago, you mentioned making it a game. So can you explain how people can do that?
Yes. So I'm a huge game show fan. I have to give myself numbers and make it a challenge for myself. So when I say going to a networking event, or even if you're networking on the job search or after you've gone to an event, you can use this at any phase of the networking process, which is like for the rest of your life, pretty much going to be networking. But I say if you're at an event, you can, let's see, how many people are there? If there's 20 people, just say, I am not going to leave until I talk to 3 people. Or I am going to spend 30 minutes here and I am not going to sit in the corner. I'm going to sit in that middle table, or I'm going to walk up to the front. You have to give yourself a challenge. And that's why I say it can be either a numbers challenge, or it can be something that scares you, like walking to the front of the room. Or I think too, even making it a game is like, could I volunteer? If I check someone in, how many people can I talk to after I did? So just putting numbers behind it or giving yourself a scary challenge.
That's so fun. And I create those little games for myself too, like for biz dev, for example. Like I know the
Mhm.
percentage of people I have to have conversations with to meet my sales goals. So I make it a
Yes.
game. This is how many people I have to talk to this week.
If it's 20 per week, that's 5 per this, 4, yeah, all of that. You just kind of keep it going. And I think it's the same when we talk about how to re-engage your existing work. Write down, I know this sounds crazy, but write down every single person that you've worked with and, like not the one that you met that one time, but that you've actually worked with over the years, and that they would know your name, they would recognize you, and just put a list. And if you want to re-engage your network, your existing network, just go and however many, that could be 100, that could be 20. I don't know how long you've been working or how many people you've worked with. So you have to kind of make it
A
customized to your
feasible
experience.
goal.
Yeah. Well, let's say for me, I've been working for like 15 years, so I probably could think of quickly 50 people. So if you want to re-engage all those 50 people, make it a game. And you can say, hey, over the next 10 weeks, I'm going to reach out to 5 per week. And you just put a list, and you can even make a spreadsheet. It's another form of making a game, I guess. And you can put everyone's name on a spreadsheet. I know it maybe takes some of the authenticity out, but I kind of just think it's good record keeping. So you can say, okay, I met this person this day, or I worked with them at this company. Here's the last date of the last time I talked to them. And then any kind of special notes, like if you know they have some kind of hobby or their family, something about their family or their kids' names, or they have a dog, any kind of detail. Because some people have just crazy memories and they can do all that. But if you don't have that and it's been a few years, you can have all those notes there. And then when you do re-engage with them, oh, how was your trip to Cape Cod 4 years ago or whatever, or 6 months ago? So you have something to kind of kick off from, and it's not so awkward.
Yeah. Yeah. And for those who are listening who are founders, for example, you probably have a CRM where you can have this information in there. I have an Airtable where I keep meticulous track of everybody I reach out to. So I know the percentages that I need to hit my sales goals. Those are just some easy
Yeah.
ways you can gather data around it too. So you're suggesting that first contact should be just soft, asking a question about something that's happened recently?
Yeah, I think this is like my life philosophy. I feel like it's easier to care about people than it is to ask for things.
Agreed. It's so much easier to serve too. Like I'm offering you this thing rather than asking for something because I cannot. Hey folks, Sarah here, popping over to introduce the Tiny Marketing Club. This membership is for B2B service founders struggling to market their business sustainably. The Tiny Marketing Club will help you build and maintain a lean marketing engine that helps you build authority and visibility with your dream clients, making it easy to increase your pipeline without burning out. Together, we'll build your lean marketing engine and the systems to make it so damn easy for you to keep it up without a team or a big budget. Go to sarahnoelblock.com/club and click the button that says apply for the club to get added to the wait list. See you there.
Yeah, every person you meet, everyone listening has something cool that they know a lot about that could help a lot of people. So thinking about it that way, I feel like for me, I do a lot of recruiting. I do a lot of interview preparation. I know how to do job interviewing. I interview thousands of people a year. I know how to do those things. So if there's someone who says, oh, I'm struggling with my interviews, I'm like, I can help you immediately. I'm like, I can think about that. Or if you're say, hey, I want to meet someone in this field, I talk to those people all the time. Oh, I know someone. So it's just thinking about what you can give rather than what you can get. But I do think the soft approach of how's your family? What's going on with you? Oh, great. Oh, you work here now? Oh, I didn't know you got a new job. What made you make the move? Or why did you decide to start your own business? Or what gaps are you seeing in the market? What's the hardest thing about your business today? Anything like that. Just really natural, organic questions.
Yeah, it's just showing a genuine interest in their lives. So novel.
Mhm. So novel. I know, but I find that I get to the best conversations. I mean, with you too, we've had that great breakfast. We met like 2 years ago, and it's
Yeah.
just, we don't there all the time, but I feel like I know a lot about you and your life and what you're looking for, and I feel like you know that about me too. And you raise the vibration, you raise the quality of your relationships when you leave the, automated questions behind and you just start talking to people.
Hey, friends, we're going to take a quick pause to hear from my friends at Leadfeeder. Hey there, fellow entrepreneurs and B2B marketers. Before we dive back into the conversation, let me introduce you to a game changer in the lead generation arena, Leadfeeder. Now, we all know the struggle of identifying those elusive website visitors and turning them into valuable leads. But what if I told you there's a tool that not only promises, but delivers on supercharging your lead generation and sales efforts? Enter Leadfeeder. Imagine having the power to identify companies visiting your website, track their behavior in real time, and seamlessly integrate it all with your CRM. Leadfeeder is not just a tool, it's your secret weapon for efficient and targeted lead engagement. What sets Leadfeeder apart? It's the ability to provide detailed insights into visitor behavior, helping your sales team prioritize efforts and close deals faster. With customizable notifications, lead scoring, and GDPR compliance, Leadfeeder is changing the game. Ready to revolutionize your approach to leads and deals? Head over to leadfeeder.com for your free demo today. That's LEADFEEDER.com. Don't miss out on the future of successful lead generation with Leadfeeder. Yeah. So when you say leaving the automated questions behind, that makes me think of scripting your conversations. You think more in the terms of prompts. Can you give me some examples of prompts that might make it easier for someone where it just doesn't come that naturally?
Yeah. And I know that this is awkward for people, but we're going to flip the script and we're going to say it's not awkward, that you're super interesting. You have a lot to offer. And I think yes or no questions let's put those on the back burner for a while. Let's think about open-ended questions that give people a lot of breath to answer. So when you're at an event in person, let's say, you could say something like, oh, how did you hear about this event? Or where's the last place you traveled? If they say something about traveling, or just, whatever the event is about, ask a question about, oh, okay, if this is about a entrepreneur, like tell me about your business. Oh, okay, you're an entrepreneur. Why did you decide to start that? Or what's your favorite way to spend your time when you're not working on your business? So all of these questions are not yes or no, and they give you a lot of room for people to expand their answers. And then you can ask more questions off of that. So it's just kind of like you ask one question, but then you get information to ask three more. So it can really jump it off and get to know people quickly.
Yeah. And that is something that I mentioned before we hit record. I do all the time in podcasting or when I'm interviewing my clients to help them with their content creation. I prompt them with something and then it spurs into the next thing. These podcasts aren't scripted in the slightest bit. I just have like 3 prompts and everything else just fills in.
And a lot of times you probably get something that you're like, oh, I didn't even think about that.
All the
Or I had
time.
never, yeah, because you have these open-ended questions. It just raises the quality.
Yes. So we have how to re-engage the people that have been in our lives before that we haven't talked to in a while in a more comfortable way, and some prompts if we're starting to have those conversations at either networking events or connection calls when we're re-engaging that audience. But now
Mhm.
let's talk about the after. In the after,
Yeah.
how do you maintain those relationships and make sure that they don't fall away again?
Yeah. So if it's been a couple years since you talked to somebody, a lot of times too, and we can get to this, but if they post a lot on LinkedIn or whatever platform that you are going to connect with them on, maybe Slack or YouTube, I don't know how you know everybody, but I do a lot on LinkedIn. So
Same.
I would probably message someone on LinkedIn, especially if I worked with them 2 years ago. I might not have their work email. We don't work at the same place anymore. I don't know how to contact them. So I would go, if it's virtual, I would go on LinkedIn and I would just say, hey, I noticed that you're still at X company. How's it been going for you? I'd love for us to catch up, and really stating your intentions. Like, don't without asking for things. So just
Mhm.
saying, I'd love for us to catch up. I miss talking to you. I loved when we worked together. You have what's your availability over the next couple weeks to just grab a coffee or just grab a call? And not saying, are you available? What's your availability?
Yeah.
Again, not a yes or no question.
And
Yeah.
it's casual. It's no pressure.
Yeah, and sometimes people won't answer you. You might get people that don't check their LinkedIn, or you might get people who maybe they are not in the mood to network or they're nervous like you. And so they might not answer you. You might not get 100% response rate. But a lot of times you get people, if you really knew them, they would say, hey, oh my gosh, Sarah, it's been years. I would love to. How about next Friday? Are you available? Are you in town? Or we can just grab a virtual coffee. So I think just saying things like, what's your availability? How's it been going since XYZ thing? If you know them we know, Sarah and I know each other through the AMA. So have you been attending a lot of these AMA events lately? How's that been going? Things like that. So however you've met them, make sure to drop that in case they forgot, to remind them who you are and how you know them. And yeah, just no yes or no questions and just keep it super casual.
Yeah, that is a really good point too, in that when like my success rate reaching out to people on LinkedIn versus email is so much higher. If I had my Airtable up, I could tell you the exact percentage, but it's just more casual slipping into the DMs and having a conversation. And I think that people are more
Yeah.
protective of their email and feeling like it's down to business. And uh,
Yeah.
I'm just always reaching for that zero inbox. So I'm
I
deleting a
know.
lot of emails that probably matter, but
It's unattainable. Inbox zero, I'm always trying to get there too. And yeah, I totally agree. I think people just kind of gloss over their emails sometimes, but with LinkedIn, they see it. And another thing you can do is if someone on your list that you made of 50 people or however many, if they post on LinkedIn a lot, maybe you could write something on their posts.
yeah,
If they comment a cool initiative they're doing, or you see them say something, you could say, oh my gosh, that's so funny. And then message them privately and be like, hey, I saw your post about XYZ. It made me think of you. How are you doing? How's it been going since XYZ meeting time? I'd love for us to catch up. What's your availability over the next couple weeks?
that is a great way to do even a softer touch is start re-engaging with their in the comments. And then they'll be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, yes, yes, yes." Actually, that happened to me last week where someone who was the content director when I was freelance writing, she was the content director for the
Hmm.
company, and I noticed that she kept commenting on my LinkedIn posts. I'm like, "I haven't like I didn't she was so high above me that I only saw her CC'd on emails to me." But I was like, I haven't interacted with her in ages. I wonder what she's up to. And we're setting up a call to reconnect. But that's exactly how it happened.
These are how it's just, I think in general, when we talk about networking after the fact or in the moment, I think you have to just lead with caring about people. I have so many examples. We do not have enough time in the day for me to give you specific examples that I remember. And there's probably other ones that I forgot because, I haven't slept in years. I've got two kids under 5. But I can tell you, I walked up to someone. This is a good one, I think, because I was at an event and it was actually out in Las Vegas and we live in Chicago.
Mhm.
And I told you I'm a marketing recruiter. And this person who was leading a panel, also a marketing recruiter, lived in Chicago, owned her own business. And I was like, what? We're so parallel lives. How is it that we don't know each other. So I just walked up to her and I was like, hey, I just kind of said what I said, you work in marketing recruiting. So do I. How do we not know each other? I'd just love to meet you. And she said, hey, are you interviewing for jobs? And I said, no. And she's like, well, here's my card. Why don't you come by the office next week? And I ended up working for her.
That's awesome.
So I didn't even ask for a job. I wasn't even looking for a job, but that's how it goes.
Yeah, it really is. When thinking back, because I think we're similar ages. So I've also been in the workforce for about 15 years. Looking back, every single job that I have gotten and most that my friends have gotten were from people I knew. I was like, oh, you know what? I
Mhm.
know someone who is looking for that kind of role. Let me connect you guys.
Yeah. And there was some TED talk. You could probably find it. I don't know if you want to put it in the show
Mm,
notes. Maybe I can find it for you. But it was like the main things that happen in your life, your main life events. So whether that's getting married, getting a job, anything that's a primary turning point in your life, it's all facilitated by third party or third level connections. So, your first connection is like your brother and sister. Second is like your friend. And then third is someone you barely know. And it's so true. I mean, I got that job from a person I barely knew at that time. And think about all the people that you know. Oh, let me just connect you guys. And then it's like before you know it, you got a job there or you're working together.
yeah, that's so interesting. I'm going to look for it.
Yeah.
I'm trying
Your third level. Yeah.
I'm thinking of like how I met my husband. My
Mhm.
best friend was cousins with his best friend, and we ended up at the same party.
Third connection.
Ah,
See? Yeah. Now everyone listening is thinking about this. They're like, how did I meet this person or how did I get that job? It's your third connection, most likely. Unless some people have been married since like the third grade. I don't know. But most of the time it is third level connections.
Ah, before we wrap up, I wanted to touch on a couple other ways that I stay connected to people after I meet them. Um, some other options, like for events that I've gone to, we created group texts where
Yep.
we would find where to meet up during the event. So we just kept that group text going from the event. Another one is, oh, what was it? Oh, I set a boomerang on my Gmail every 90 days to reconnect so I don't forget.
That's a great idea. And you can have this spreadsheet if you're, less tech like me. I'm like, I look at like spreadsheets or I could set up boomerangs. That's a good idea. But I have a spreadsheet of like the last time I talked to someone, if it's been 90 days or 60 days, I'm like, oh, you can refer to that too.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing when you people at events like AMA or some kind of organization that has Slack, you can keep up with people and ask, hey, are you coming to the next meeting or the next, event? Hey, I'll be there in 2 weeks. Okay, great. And I'll see you there. And it's so easy to just ask people if they're going.
Oh, that's a really good point. If there's a community attached to the event, even better.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have found that communities and then attending those events are the
Hmm.
most profitable way for me to spend my time. They so often turn into work from third party
Yeah.
connections. People like, oh, a client actually needs this. Let me connect you to.
Hmm. Yeah. A lot of it's timing. And I think overall, the main point is just to be open and not necessarily feel so desperate, like, oh my gosh, I have to talk to 5 people this
Yeah.
week. Or, oh, don't put a panic on it. Just say, hey, I love this is a goal. I'm going to try it out. Let's do 5 people a week. Let's just see what happens. And then once they say, you've reached out to them on LinkedIn or whatever platform, then they say, hey, let's meet. Then you can ask a lot more open ended questions. How's it been going? I'm so glad we could catch up today. So, what have you been doing the last few months? And then they'll give you things. And if you are looking for a job or you are looking for new business, you can say my favorite 4 words when networking: keep me in mind.
Oh my gosh, I totally forgot you told me that. Can you just touch on that? All right, I was wrapping up and now I'm not. Can you just touch on that keep me in mind thing?
Yes. So, like I said, it's way easier to care about people than to ask for things. Keep me in mind is just, hey, I'm open to it, but I'm not asking and I'm not going to force you to say yes or no to me right now. So I have that funny story I have is, so David Schwimmer, he played Ross on Friends. And if you all watch if you know the show Friends, of course, but if you watch the reunion, he talked about it and he said, I interviewed with the creators of Friends, obviously not at that time, but he said 10 years ago, I met with those people and I did a casting call and it wasn't the right show at that point because it was, 1984, like before Friends started. And he said, it wasn't the right thing and they didn't pick me, but we liked each other. We just had this kinship. And so I left the audition after they told me no, but I said, keep me in mind for something else. Cut to 10 years later, they're casting Friends and David Schwimmer is the first person they cast because they met him 10 years ago. And it was like, it didn't work out 10 years ago, but he said, keep me in mind. And they remembered and he remembered. And then the rest is history.
That is so brilliant. And you really just wiggle wormed into my brain with that because I have started saying, keep me in mind. And it has circled back already just since we had that conversation.
Yes. And it's not so, you don't want to, I never like asking for, it's so hard to ask for things. And if you don't, it might not even be the right time. So it's like, hey, keep me in mind. When the time's right, it'll work.
Yes. Yes. So now for reals, before we wrap up, I just wanted to touch on our workshop. We are, hold on, pause. I am pulling it up. Here it is, April 23rd at 1:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm more of the MC. You're the expert on it, but Jenna and I are going to be hosting a workshop called 5 Ways to Network Without Being Awkward. And do you want to touch on some of the things that we'll be digging into?
Yes. So we'll get into some more specifics. I feel like we touched on some points, but whenever I hear workshop, I hope you're coming to work because that's what we're going to do. We're going to go very specific questions on like at which questions to ask that are not yes or no questions. And we're going to have you do that and put it into practice immediately and see how you feel when you're doing it. And then two, just this point about when you're networking, I think we always think, oh, who do I ask? But it's like, how can you serve first? How can you say, what can I give people? And when you lead with that generosity, it is kind of subconscious that people want to give it back to you.
Mm.
So how can you, your unique skills, crafting your elevator pitch, like what are you really good at? How could you help people? And then go out to your networking conversations with those things in mind.
Yes. And I just want to touch on how beneficial networking can really be. My Q4 of last year was horrendous. I mean, December usually sucks, but I spent that entire month networking. I was like, I'm going to go all in. And I networked a ton. And then by January, I was booked out through May. It really helps. And I was using these same tactics that Jenna taught today.
I'm glad that you are showing that these things work because sometimes it's hard to show it. You're like, oh, I could never do that. And it's like, yes, you can. And the results can just multiply and transform your business and your life. And it changes how you feel about yourself too.
Yeah, it does. And my mindset really shifted because I did feel uncomfortable for a long time about it. And then I started going into those conversations with gives already prepared. Like I did my research and I was like, I know a few people that I think could be really beneficial to that person. I'm going to have those intros ready to go, or I'd love to collaborate with that person. I just knew what my gives would be ahead of time. And then as the conversation progressed, I'd see which one of those gives that I had thought about would actually work.
That's a great way to leave those conversations when you're re-engaging your network is just at the very end, say, oh my gosh, it was so great connecting with you. We were talking about this thing. I'm going to introduce you to that person. I'll send an email intro. I'll set it up. And then it's like you leave, you ask for the conversation, but you're leaving giving them something. So they feel like it was worth their time too.
Yes, absolutely. And when I'm like really crossing my fingers that I don't fall out with this person, like we just, drift off away from each other, I always have a second ask prepared. Like, what's a way that I can set up a re-engagement in a way with that so I can make sure to maintain that relationship.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Jenna, where can people find you online and connect with you?
Yes. So you can find me on LinkedIn. My name's Jenna Kimball. And I also have a website if you want to look there. It's www.jennakimball.com. And I did write a book actually about how to interview, how to ace your job interview. So you can find it there or you can find it on Amazon. But yeah, just connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear from you.
If you enjoyed this episode, please, please, please remember to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and rate and review. But most importantly, tell your friends. Share this episode with a friend so other people know about Tiny Marketing and our Uncut Summer series. I will see you next week with another great one.